Alright, welcome back everybody. Today we got another comparison of a real steel versus gel blaster. So, today we're doing a M4 carbine, where I'm sure you can immediately see on your screen, the one up top is the gel blaster. You can definitely tell from the little bit of orange that's in the cutout for the trigger and the lower receiver. Aside from that though, look-wise it's pretty damn good. The one on the bottom is my real steel, quote-unquote, M forgery. It's as close as I could get to a American civilian legal version of the weapon that I carried overseas. So my Iraq rifle had the same overall layout, the only real difference being a 14.5-inch barrel on my service rifle and a 16-inch barrel on the civilian version to accommodate for NFA restrictions. Anything in the United States under 16 inches, the ATF considers a short-barreled rifle. So this one has the full 16-inch barrel. I could have saved a little bit of length if I'd have gone with a 14-inch or 14.5-inch and then a muzzle device that would have been pinned and welded in place. That will meet the restriction requirement, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to be able to change my muzzle device, so I went with the full 16 inches. Other slight difference, the optic is a little bit different than the one that I had on my rifle. My rifle had an M68 aim point. This is an aim point PRO. So, very close, pretty much just a newer iteration of the one that I had. Only other massive glaring visual difference would be the anti-walk pins that are in the lower receiver on the one on the bottom there. Those are in place because there's a drop-in trigger in that rifle. When you put a drop-in there's no longer any spring tension from the hammer spring on those pins to prevent them from walking out the sides. So I went ahead and put the anti-walk pins on, which attach on both sides, hold it in place. That way that pin can't walk out and the trigger can't move inside the receiver. But non-visual, only other major difference, this is obviously civilian legal in the United States. It's made after 1986, so it cannot be fully automatic. It cannot be on the NFA registry as a machine gun, so this is a semi-auto weapon only. Aside from that, though, even the markings are correct for what I had on my military rifle. I have covered the serial number, so you will see that it doesn't have that fully visible, but aside from that, everything else is correct. I'll go ahead and clear the weapon real quick just to make sure that everybody, all the safety Nazis out there, know that everything is safe and good and clear. But on the real steel here, we'll drop our magazine. We are clear, so no issues there. The mag does lock back on an empty magazine. Bolt stays back. You can then use the ping pong paddle to release your bolt. The reason that I bring that up is on the gel blaster, you still have a ping pong paddle. It, however, doesn't move, it doesn't do anything. It's aesthetics only, since obviously there's not a bolt carrier in this. There is not anything that would actually make you have to drop the bolt or anything like that. So it's fully aesthetic only. But now that obviously we know it's clear, I'll throw the empty magazine back inside and flip it around. It was facing the other way before so that it wouldn't be pointing at me, but now we know it's clear, so it is pointing in my direction. Don't freak out. Marking wise, really damn good. As you can see on mine here, we've got the prancing pony on the globe, the Colt logo, property of U.S. government, M4 carbine, caliber 5.56 millimeter. On the gel blaster, we've got same globe and pony logo, property of U.S. government, M4A1 carbine, caliber 5.56. This one does not have a serial number. The one here is covered up by a piece of electrical tape, so there is a serial number underneath on there. Nothing, no fake serial number or anything on this. Colt Defense, Hartford, Connecticut, USA. Not as easy to see on this, but if you can see it there, Colt Defense, Hartford, Connecticut, USA. I just didn't fill paint in on the receiver on that marking. But the selector switches, we've got safe, semi, and auto, which would be correct for an M4A1. I didn't carry an M4A1 in my time in the Army. I had an M4, safe, semi, burst. So the markings are correct, but obviously this is semi-auto only. It does not flip into the burst position, which is a nice fun thing where the gel blaster does flip into the auto position. So the gel blaster, of course, is select fire. Dimensionally, everything's really close. We've got a bunch of really good little details that I didn't expect they would get right. Where, like, the checkering on the pistol grip is correct. The lines that go down the back strap of the pistol grip are correct. It does have the updated the finger swell on there that you do not see on like an original M16. So like the A2s and all had that swell, in the M4s and M4A1s all have it, but neat that they did get that little detail right. If you can see, handguard lengths are correct. Obviously this is a plastic handguard, the one below is metal, so teeny bit of a difference there. Now we did mention the 16-inch barrel length on our real steel. This is not a 14.5-inch, so that's something they did get a little bit wrong. This is shorter. This is probably a 11.5 barrel, something like that. So a little bit different than what the actual ones would be, but won't hit them too hard on that. I'm not 100% sure which buttstock that is a facsimile of. I know there is one that looks like that is an actual produced for AR-15s buttstock, but I don't change them too much. I have never had a problem with the mil-spec one, so I never really swapped them out. So I'm not sure what that is modeled after, but I know it is modeled after a real one, so we'll give them a pass there. The carrying handle up top came off my actual service rifle. It did not, the gel blaster did not come with any type of sighting system on it, so no irons, no fake optic or anything. So I put that on there just mainly so that I could practice with my kids, so they would get the same sight picture that they would get on a real one, which is a huge perk of these in my opinion. But aside from that, everything looks pretty damn legit. In comparison to the AK-74 SU that we did in the other video, I feel like this guy packs a little bit more punch. So I don't have a chronograph, but I'm pretty certain, at least from a see the pants feeling standpoint, it feels more powerful. Rate of fire also seems a touch higher. As you can see there, she pumps them out pretty darn quick. You can do single, pretty much single trigger manipulation to get one shot to come out at a time. Then of course we do have a functioning semi, which is really nice because you can do real range training with it. Whereas like my son's pretty young, almost a teenager, so he's in that time where the real guns are starting to be an interest and going to the range, something that we can do and have fun with. But before we ever go for the first time, it's great to be able to pull out something like this where you get a full correct control. Everything that you do would be similar. You can practice magazines, you can practice using your charging handle, which you can see the fun thing there, how when you use the charging handle, it should put it where you've got one in the chamber, and you can see our little guy there. So we've got a functional dust cover, which is kind of fun, but you don't need to do that to get it to work. You can't just put the magazine in, flip it on, pull the trigger the first couple times. If you're on semi, nothing will come out until you get one up through the hopper and in the system and everything. Or on auto, you just hold it down until they start to come out. But after that, you're pretty good to go. I have noticed Sometimes you will get a round in the barrel that I guess the Orby may not have fully expanded, and then they will roll out of the barrel. But it's not every time, but it does happen sometimes. So keep that in mind if you see it happen. It's not a big deal. The AK-74, I had ordered off an Australian seller who the website listed that it would ship from Europe. It did not. When the tracking number was given, it was a China post. So it did come straight from China, straight from the manufacturer, it seems. And that manufacturer put a card inside the box where I ordered this one from. It had their website on it. I don't remember it off the top of my head. It's some Chinese-ish word. And I'll go ahead and put that in the comments if you guys are really interested in it. But I'm not sure the brand of this. It came in a very nondescript box. It was just unmarked cardboard. And then when you open it up, the only thing that says anything about it is this instruction sheet. Where, as you can see, it says it's a JD100 M4CQB, but every other word on it is in Chinese. So I'm not sure who the manufacturer is, but I guess the model is an M4CQB. For what it's worth, it seems like a very good entry-level gel blaster. It has, from what I can tell, a metal barrel. Some of the internals seem to be metal. Some others are nylon, so take that with a grain of salt. But aside from that, construction is overwhelmingly plastic. One of the things that I thought was a nice design touch that I didn't necessarily expect that they would do, if you take a look, our magazines are the same length. But when you remove the magazine, they are not the same length. Obviously due to the differences in the internal system to have the gel blaster function, but they did adjust the length of the magazine to make it so when it is sitting inside that it is in fact correct length. I thought that was a nice touch. But again, under 150 bucks, great time with the kids. You can go out on the weekend, blast each other around the yard. You can then even go in the house and do full-on familiarization to get them ready for a real range trip with a real firearm. So I think that's a big benefit to these. Keeping that in mind, I highly want to tell everybody, make sure you go over it with your kids, and I went over it with mine. If they are out playing with this, obviously we're not walking down the street randomly. If somebody's not involved in the game, you don't in any way ever point it at somebody. And if a police officer happens to view you with it, and you see them approaching you, throw the damn thing on the ground, hands up in the air. Yeah, it's plastic. It'll probably break when you do that. Doesn't matter. I can buy a new gel blaster. I can't buy a new you. So the safety aspect is very important. If I was a police officer and I got on scene to a call and saw somebody holding one of these in an aggressive manner, I would engage them as well. There is nothing to make you think that this wouldn't be an actual firearm. They don't come with orange tips or anything. This isn't painted to be different from the way that it came. It came straight up with the black muzzle device. So no real giveaways that it's not real. But keeping that in mind, it's a fantastic little toy. I definitely enjoy it. I hope you guys like the video. I'm probably going to continue to buy some of these as disposable income permits, just to play around with the kids, get some so my kids' friends can come over and they can have some to play with as well. But I would recommend it. Again, if you guys are interested, I'll throw the link to the website in the comments. Well, let me know what you think.